Hi, I'm Chris Martirano, back here with our great friends at Kraft Music, the place to go when you're looking for those amazing bundles offering tremendous value. They put together a great package for you in these bundles, offering you all the accessories to get the most out of your purchase. I want to talk to you today about Nord Stage 4. This is a product that's an evolutionary product, but yet it's an incremental, more than a small increment, I might point out, incremental evolution over the Stage 3, which has been a tremendous success around the world. The Stage 4 took the concepts found in the Stage 3, which is essentially combining multiple different kinds of engines, a tone wheel organ engine or a transistor organ engine, electromechanical instruments such as pianos, electric pianos, clavs, harpsichords, things of that nature, and then a synthesizer section. They took that and brought the whole thing to another level. I'm going to get some of the specifications out of the way here and then jump right into playing because I know mostly that's what you want to hear. The specifications for the Nord 4 comes in 3 different keyboard lengths, essentially 2 different keyboard lengths, I should say, but with 3 different keyboard actions. You have an 88-note graduated hammer weight. Then you have a 73-note graduated hammer weight, which is the exact same physical keyboard except less keys. And then there's a 73-note waterfall semi-weighted keyboard action. For those of you familiar with waterfall, it's kind of the organ type action where there's no lip on the edge of the key. And then all models come with drawbars. This is a major improvement. If you remember the Stage 3, which I'll refer to a few times in this presentation, the Stage 3, you could only get drawbars on the compact model. So now drawbars are on all the models. So what's really the new features? What did they really do to make this so much incrementally better? Well, the first thing, they laid out the whole front panel differently. As a user of the Stage 3, after you use it for quite a while, you get familiar with the idea that you have this A panel and B panel, which essentially they're both snapshots of the front panel. So if you're on the A panel, it's whatever you have working on the panel at that moment. You go to the B panel, it can be a different configuration, and then you can layer them together. It was necessary to use both A and B anytime you wanted more than 3 splits or 3 layers. Now you don't think in terms of A and B panel anymore. They have grouped the sections, giving you an A and B. So piano, you have A and B. Organ, you have A and B. The synth section now has 3 different synth lanes, A, B, and C. That's a huge step over the Stage 3, which just had 2 synthesizer ability to layer synthesizer presets. Some of the other specifications, the piano section has 2 gigabytes. When I use these figures, some people go, oh, 2 gig is so small. It's a very proprietary algorithm they use for data reduction with no loss. So 2 gigs is misleading, but I'm going to give you that because that's what it says on the spec. You can pack an awful lot more in there. Just witness what the instruments come with, something like 6 grand pianos loaded in, multi-dynamic level, I should say, 6 or 7 Fender Rhodes pianos loaded in, and a lot more. You know, you think 2 gig. So you can tell the data compression is really good because the sound loses no quality. The synth section is up to 46 voices in polyphony now, which is an improvement. The piano section has 120 voices. These are discrete, separate engines. They work and have their own controls. It's not like a global engine where everything runs through the same general DSP. The organ has this, again, organ A and B. You still have a preset button that allows you to toggle through, if you think of it as the B flat and B key on a tone wheel organ. So you can have 2 different drawbar settings within organ A and 2 different drawbar settings within organ B, and never create a new preset. It's still on the same overall program. So very powerful stuff. As we move further over some of the newest features, which I want to be sure to cover, the whole layout. Now in the synth section, you have this beautiful display, which was found on the Stage 3, but it didn't show you what you see here now. For example, if I press a velocity or an envelope button, I can see a graphic representation of the envelope. That's new. That's cool. Filter envelope, and then I can look at my amplitude envelope. So a lot more information presented to you. Also, you have some new features in terms of the fact that every single component, whether it be piano A, piano B, organ A, organ B, or A, B, and C of the synthesizer, can use the full complement of effects. That was not the case in the Stage 3. For example, if I had used chorus or phaser on a Fender Rhodes, I could not use phaser on a synthesizer or on the organ. It had already been used. It's one iteration. Now I can use independently. Each instrument can use whatever effects I choose to use, which is great. They have something called layer focus and effects focus, which will follow the LED that is illuminated whether I'm on A or B. An example you can see in the display here. I'm going to have this follow what's going on. So I'm now looking at synth A, and I can see synth A LED is illuminated, synth B, and synth C. If I go to A and I decide, oh, I want to put chorusing on that, I can assign that. When I go to synth B, you notice chorus shuts off. I could now assign, let's say, ensemble, and maybe on C, I want a rotary for some reason. So now I have these, and as I step through, you can see what's going on. Chorus, ensemble, and then rotary. So, in fact, I can turn that off on C. So you can see this independence. This is huge. I can't stress what a major change this is. Then we get into, of course, the fact that the piano, they brought a myriad of new parameters like unison that I can apply to a single piano to create a kind of chorusing, more thickly layered sound within a single piano. They added 3 dynamic compression levels that I can add, which will allow me to get different dynamic response from the keyboard. Again, if I have 2 pianos layered and I want one of them to really sound at all dynamic levels, but I want the other one to be very dynamic and only sound when I hit hard, I can use these compressor settings to allow me to do that and never use the effects section over here to the right. Number of other things they've added. Of course, the 3-band EQ has been present on the Stage 3. So you have bright, mid, and soft that will affect the piano only, specific for the piano section. Just to finish rounding out the new features, there's this Layer Scene 2 button that will allow me across the entire instrument to decide which instruments I might want to drop out, which instruments I might want to introduce. So think of it as kind of like a preset 2 for the whole front panel that encompasses everything on the front panel. So let's get involved in the sounds and listen to what it sounds like. I'm going to start with the white grand piano. They now have a triple sensor action. Underneath each key, the contacts have 3 different sensors. What this does is this allows you, when you depress the key all the way, and the key isn't released all the way fully up, if you strike again, you will still hear the strike. In the past, with only 2 contacts, the key had to almost be completely up to the top before it would trigger and make sound again, unlike a real piano. Secondly, I find that it just reads velocity much more consistently. So a very big plus. So let's listen to it. I'll play just a couple of piano works here quickly, and we'll check out what that sounds like. going to add some of that EQ right now and bring the bright top end out. I'm going to put chorusing on the piano right now. I'll add an amount and a rate, and I get. Now I'm going to add a second piano, and on this second piano, I'm going to put an FM piano. Here, we'll just listen to it by itself. I'm going to layer them. So now we see first on my acoustic piano, the grand, I have chorusing on. On the FM piano, I have nothing. I'm going to add a phaser to that, very slow, and then layer the two of them. I want the FM piano to really only come out when I dig in really hard. So I'm going to change its dynamic curve. And to do that, I'm going to put on the acoustic piano a very hard dynamic, such that when I play soft, I'm hearing a lot of that, just the acoustic piano. When I play very hard, the FM comes in. I'm going to turn the chorusing off for a minute, and I'm going to use the unison to give me my detuning. And now we'll hear some chorusing without using any effects on the acoustic piano. So very, very smart. The piano section alone is worth the price of admission, in my opinion. The sounds are fantastic. The library that Nord has provided, new pianos all the time. There are some new uprights that are really great. The white grand, which I love. So every time you go up to Nord's site, especially as an owner, you should go up and you should listen. Check it out, see what they have. The cool thing about Nord is I can delete all the sounds out of the piano section and just download the sounds that are attractive to me. They come in a variety of sizes, extra large, large, medium, small. So to me, the extra large has the most dynamic levels, the most realistic samples, multi-samples across the keyboard. So I don't need 7 grands. I don't need 8 Fender Rhodes pianos. I'm not talking about presets. I'm talking about actual sampled instruments. I don't need 5 clavs, and I don't need 2 Wurlitzers. So I'll just download the ones that I like that I'll be using. And it makes it my instrument as opposed to the same one in every retail store across the United States or wherever you might see them in a club. You can sample and put your own samples in the Nord. A lot of people don't realize that. They have a sample editor that's awesome. It'll map the samples out for you, make key maps, allow you to make programs, transfer them in. A lot of times if you're doing cover music, sometimes we might cheat and take a little snippet from the original record. Not enough to be legally violating anything, and I don't promote any habits like that. But you can, for example, isolate a kick drum maybe or a hand clap, put it in here. It's amazing. So you're not limited to what the instrument ships with. Let's move on here and look quick at the synth section. This is where a lot has happened. So for example, I'm going to have this follow individual effects as well. So I start with a sawtooth. I want to change the envelope. I can go to my amplitude envelope. I see a display, attack time. I can make instantaneous attack. I can have it decay. So now I'll make it decay a little faster. I'll give it a little release. Maybe I'll give it some attack. I'll make a pad. So I'm going to just make a little pad out of this. I'm going to use my ensemble effect, which is very cool. And I'm going to make it velocity sensitive such that I can play around with the velocity. So here we go. And we'll adjust how much. Now I'll dial it in with my filter. I love the display. It's showing me in hertz where the cutoff is. So I'll put a little bit of resonance, not much. Again, I'm using only a single oscillator at this point. Now I'll just put a little unison on it and fatten it up. And of course, if I want to make something a lot more spacey, I'll put some delay on. So I'll tune the delay, set the tempo, set a little bit of wet dry on it, a little bit of feedback, and finally, I'll dress it up with a reverb. And I'll put it on with a nice dry piano. Most people won't do editing in front of you, but I'm so comfortable with this instrument. I want to have my CC pedal bring in that pad. So that's what I'm going to do. I first set my level to off on the pad. I then touch the control pedal. This is a morphing control. And when it's blinking, I can now change how much of the value that I want. Touch it again, and now I have piano. A little too much release on my envelope, so I'll just change that. And I get it. So this is a standard, piano pad kind of thing. I'm using one of the three oscillators. I'm now going to go to 2, and I want to use a sample. So I'm going to get out of using a standard analog waveform and go to a sample. So let's just go through our samples and see what we have. I'm going to change 2, let's see. Okay, and I want that also on the CC pedal, so I'll make that part of my pad. Just assign that to the CC pedal, and I'm going to change the filtering on it. Dull it down a little bit, put it in reverb. Again, independently, every instrument can use the effects independently. This is a wonderful thing. I'll put a little bit of chorusing because I don't want the strings to sound so acoustic. I'll just use a little bit of chorusing on them. And then I'll combine these two, and now this is my pad. I'm going to turn the synthesizer up an octave. So you can see, like in real time, That's what the beauty of Nord is. All these controls, they're labeled, you touch them, you do what you want with them. The arpeggiator, I just want to get into that for a second. A lot of new features added there. I'm going to show patches in a minute that I've made that'll really show off more of what the instrument can do. But I want to give you a tutorial in a way where you understand what is this and how do I use it. So I'm going to turn on just one sawtooth, and I'm going to turn on the arpeggiator, and then I'm going to go to the modes in arpeggiator. And as we're looking at the modes, you can see a couple things. We have, of course, the direction up, down, on or off for the arpeggiator. We want it on. And then we have different modes as we step through. Now we're looking at a pattern preset. These are different preset patterns. And if we hear them, what you're hearing in that very simple pattern is not only note duration is different, but panning position is different. So you have the ability to have control over gate time for each individual event. You have control over panning position. You have control over length of the note, same as gate time. And then you can determine how many steps you want. You can also put in silence. So I can pick one of these presets. There are many different ones. If you have rhythmic sounds, like you've made, noise-based drums, which you'll see in some of the presets I'll show you in a minute, you can get some very cool patterns. And of course, you're all under tempo control, so we can speed this up and get like, And if we choke our envelope down on the filter, we can have some fun with that and tighten it up. And we'll choke down in the actual pattern. We'll change the gate time. Here we'll gate this really tight. In fact, we'll get rid of a couple steps in here too. So you get. You have keyboard hold, so if you put that on, you can hold a pattern. So just a little bit of fun with that. I'm going to jump out of now individual instruction and get into some patches, because I think that's really what people want to hear. How does it all come together? There's a program I made that features white noise as a kick drum, and you'll hear it in the left hand. I'm going to play with the kick drum a little bit. I'm going to change the sound of this pulsing sound. So you can kind of get an idea of using some of the arpeggiators together to create some interesting things. This one I wanted to simulate female voice, and I'm using a variety of waveforms. I'm using a shaped sine square wave. I'm using a shaped sine square wave on 2 of them. In fact, this is all, there's no samples in this. If I wanted to, I could certainly go to any one of those and decide, hey, let me put a choir under here. So I'll just search through my categories and I'll find voice. So there's choir. So if you're using this in a house of worship, there's tons of great pads and tons of great ethereal kinds of sounds that work very well in that setting. Here's a couple other programs. This one is great for cinematic use, for big kind of a rising sound. I want to demonstrate how smooth you can change from program to program in Nord without an interruption in sound. This is quite a dramatic change from that chorally sound I had just a minute ago. So I'm going to hold this down and switch over. So you can literally change, and again, I let my foot off the pedal, but you can literally hold patches and be blending other patches in, creating real-time scenes, which is very, very cool. 1 or 2 more patches. I want to show their incredible crossfade algorithm. So if I have 2 sounds, as a keyboardist, when you're playing in a club, if you're doing left-handed bass and you're doing something where the piano plays a run and you happen to cross over, it's so noticeable. I'm going to shut the crossover, this crossfade off, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. If I play... So you notice the bass is even an octave higher. But if I put this crossfade on, even though the bass is an octave higher, listen how much it smooths out that transition. That's awesome. So if you're playing, you know, so really, really cool. I'm just trying to highlight the great features in here. 1 or 2 more patches. This one shows off some very creative use of the arpeggiator. So all you guys that are writing for Mario 4, perfect sound for it. This is a dream machine. I love this. So Nord Stage 4, there's a lot more you can find out. There's in fact even a new triple and single pedal for it. The new triple pedal, which is only made for the Nord 4, features a continuous sustain pedal. So you can half damper, you can anywhere from 0 to 127 damp the piano. Same with the single control foot switch. So great accessories. Check the bundles out because I know Kraft will put all of the cool bundles together for you. I'm Chris Martirano. Thanks so much for watching.